Hello, and welcome to the W.A.I.T channel. What Am I Thinking? A podcast where two sisters share uplifting conversations on fun and sometimes serious topics.
Join us each week by clicking the notification bell and subscribing to our channel. If you enjoy the show, use the share link. It's one of the best ways to expand the conversation.
Hello and welcome back to the W.A.I.T channel. What am I thinking? So today we're going to just brush over a topic that I've heard more than once from different YouTube bloggers about the reunion shows. And not just specifically this topic. People have been basically saying that maybe it's time for Andy to stop hosting, moderating, or whatever he wants to call it, the reunion shows. And even more bloggers are saying specifically the shows where the cast are people of color. Largely because he is not really a person that's knowledgeable about this particular culture, about many of the things within the culture, and that when a person says something, if you're not knowledgeable about what they said and what it really means, you'll just flip the next card and keep going while your viewers at home are like, wait, what? Did you hear what she just said? So what do you feel about that? Do you think it's time for him to maybe step aside?
So what I would say is the shows, because he doesn't produce every housewife show. He produces most of them. But as a producer, he does have some insight that helps him. But maybe on the shows where we don't want that stuff to slide, maybe he has a co-host, which he probably wouldn't welcome him to do this, but Carlos King or someone like that to co-host with him so those things don't go unsaid. Because you made the point, I kind of gave them a little slack on the last reunion for Potomac for the colorism and how they glossed over the topic. Even though he didn't moderate it, he allowed them to lead it. But they're not going to lead it in an effective way because someone needs to hold them to account. And each other, we know they don't do the best at that, which is why you have a moderator, period. So I would say that would be my suggestion, that they have a co-host who is a person of color who would get it and be able to add something to it. And not just them. So it would be the Married to Medicine ones. It would be Potomac. It would be Atlanta. To be able to not miss the dynamics there of some of those things. And when we talk about hosting the reunions, he kind of set the tone for that because it kind of started with these type of Real Housewives shows, that these reunion shows happened, and a lot of the networks have, like he just did the one for the Traders. They brought him in to do the reunion for Traders, and I really felt that Alan Cummings, who was the host, should have been there with him because there were some aspects of the show, because he was a key part of it, that Andy may have let slide a little bit just from a viewer perspective. So yeah, that would have been nice. Another host, which I don't think you watch this, but there's a series on Netflix called Love is Blind.
I've heard about that.
And the Lachey's, Nick and what's the wife's name? Her name is escaping me. But she's an actress too. They serve as the host. They are part of the show, and they were they host the reunion, which it was a snafu because they were trying to do a live reunion on Netflix. It was going to be their second and it did not go off.
And people weren't very happy.
People were not. I was one of those people because I had been waiting for it to drop. And so it wasn't until the next day that I got to see it. But she did a disservice. Her name just keeps, it's like right there. But she did a disservice to hosting. And there have been calls for her to never host anything.
Oh my goodness.
Again.
That bad?
Because, you know, Andy does sometimes be one-sided and you can tell who he prefers. But the slant she was taking on things, and yes, the way Vanessa Lachey was, like, they did a video interview with one of the couples, so they weren't physically there, and she did the interview. So, of course, you're hearing their version, nobody questioning them but you, nobody really holding them account. They can say whatever they want to say, how they want to say it. So, of course, it comes off wonderful. You did that interview. So the counterpart in that relationship that's live on stage with you, he can't catch everything they said to be able to counter A point C. And she's coming off like she's going to be the one to do that. But you already are biased.
Right.
And it was so unfair the way she did the young man. And it was a couple of moments like that. Like there was two of the guys, one of the guy was whispering something in the other guy's ear, trying to really help him not feel bad because he had just kind of been thrown under the bus a little bit. And they're like, well, we saw you whispering in so-and-so's ear. What? And it's like, obviously, that might not have been for the room. You know, and they were, it didn't sit well with me.
I think the one thing about these reunion shows, they give this false belief that it's town hallish. Like the questions are from the viewers. And I'm not going to say that some of the questions are not.
Yeah.
However, when you have a reality show, the other part of the reality are the people that watch it. And if not 95%, it should be 95% of the things that frustrated them, the things that they have questioned, the people that they feel that need to be pulled on the rug. I don't like when I hear things. One vlogger said that fans need to accept that Bravo doesn't let people go because the fans get angry. Well, I do know that if I'm eating a brand of something, and if I don't like that brand for whatever reason, I can petition and tell people they need to change this brand or whatever. I have the right to do that.
Right.
And oftentimes, if the companies are smart, they're going to listen to their consumer.
Right.
We are consumers.
We are.
Bravo does need to be listening to us.
Yeah.
And we do need to have a voice. And if there's somebody that we don't like or you are not taking care of or putting the strap on them and pulling them in,
Right.
as the moderator for these shows, even if I saw in the reunion that they're being called to task for their behavior, as a consumer, I think that would satisfy me a little bit.
A little bit. It would be nicer. And he'll read off, you know, blah, blah, blah from so-and-so asked this question, or this was the most asked question. But I think that's the way I agree that they should have us to have a forum where we literally, because he'll post about to do this reunion, send me your questions kind of thing. But I think they should make a more concerted effort outside of that to say, this is the platform for you to submit questions for the reunion that's coming up. Because sometimes you miss it. And I'm not a Twitter person. You know, I'm not a real on Instagram as much. And I'm really not. I could be better at it. And really pick the questions that the most people send in.
All right, so this is the final thing I got to say on it. All right, so I suggest to Bravo.
Okay.
Because you know how they'll have the questions, and the women will sit on that sofa. I'm not answering that. I'm not. That's dumb. Or whatever, Sheila. How about this? Instead of you just getting your flat paycheck for showing up, you get paid for the questions that you answer. Okay? I think that might be an incentive for them to actually participate.
Or there is a penalty for you not answering a question if you choose to not respond. And the same way, I think during the show, they penalize them the next season when they feel like we don't know what the penalty is going to be for Robin from the Potomac season. But
let's not even talk about that, because when I learned about that, I just thought, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It better not be Juan's at work. I don't want to hear that.
And I think there needs to be a penalty when your spouse, who has become an integral part of any plot through the show, they don't get to just not, because wife, you have opened this up. They have made a name for themselves through this show. They need to show up. This work, let's check your work schedule. Well, you don't have one right now, but let's check your work schedule, and we'll pick a reunion date so everybody is available. Unless you have a legitimate doctor's note, you got to be there.
And that's the thing, and that's my problem with Andy hosting, because I know if I feel this way about one particular cast on the show, and you feel this way, I know that hundreds of thousands of other people feel that certain people should not be able to brush over questions and not give detailed information. You're on a reality show.
Right.
You're getting a check for being there. Voyeurism, you call it whatever, but that's what you're getting paid for, to share your life.
Yeah,
and I think the host needs to hold your feet to the fire.
Yeah, I'm not going to say he has done. I've seen him do a good job of it. Like, I thought he did a good job with Erica Jane when he had her on there the first time. The second season after stuff, I don't know if he held her.
Scared him because she was sitting right next to him.
But he still asked some. He asked.
He did ask some good questions.
He did. But it needs to be consistent, and I think he does have his favorites. He does have the ones that he likes, and he does have the ones that he's afraid of. He tiptoes with Teresa.
Very much so.
He tiptoes with her. And part of it is that she doesn't, stuff goes over her head, and it probably tires him out to try to make her see the point.
I think Carolyn Manzo's daughter, she summed it up one season. It was a tweet that had gone out, and it was a word that you probably needed the Webster Dictionary to define what it meant, and it supposedly came from Teresa, and she sat on the end of the couch and asked Teresa, define this word, and Teresa she didn't know what she was talking about.
Right.
Well, it had to do with this tweet, and then that's what she said. You don't even send out your own tweets because and that was something. It would have been nice if Andy
they had brought that
up.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff. So I'm interested to see how they take the Jersey reunion. So I'll be interested to see how that comes out, since we know that we think Melissa and Joe may be out. So does the reunion reflect things leaning towards him being tougher on them versus Teresa and Louis?
Because I don't like the way he's treating them right now.
I don't either.
Like the
I don't
stuff
either.
Being said.
I don't either.
They're not the only ones that go on blogs and say their truth.
That is very true.
It's not fair.
We've seen it play out on other Bravo shows, and so why are they being penalized for it? I agree. All right.
So let us know what you're thinking about this Andy situation, him hosting, anybody that you think might should probably take over. Tracy said Carlos King.
I said co-host. I'm not getting rid of Andy. I said I think a co-host on some of the shows of color might help.
So as you can see, the debate goes on. Let us know what you're thinking. Bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely ours and should be taken as such. Our thoughts are intended purely for entertainment purposes. Please do not take anything we say as fact or advice. Thank you for listening.